Perfect. Okay, we are going to go ahead and go around the NFC today to match our around the AFC from the other day. You might notice we're in a little different spot, and that's because I injured myself earlier this week, and I cannot get to the third floor of Thompson Learning Center at Tarkio Tech. Although actually, I might actually be able to now. I definitely think I will be able to next week.
It would take so long.
It would take a while. I'd have to get up there.
It took a long time to get down here.
Yeah. It would take a while for, like, once I got up there, that would be it for a very long time.
You're there for a while,
until it's time to go back down. So, dislocated my kneecap, so I actually have a sports injury. So I feel that I now feel just like anybody else in the NFL that has ever gotten hurt. I can relate.
I don't know if I'd call that a sports injury.
It is. I was kicking.
Fair. You were. From everything I've heard, you were.
I'm just kidding. I was telling you guys the other day, I don't know how Patrick Mahomes played like 13 days or 14 days later after he dislocated his in a game and then played a game. That's insane. Much less his ankle.
No kidding.
No kidding. I should fold up. About to throw in the towel already. Anyway, we'll go around the NFC. We're going to go in the same order as we did last time. We will start with the NFC East, and we're going to start with the America's team, Dallas Cowboys.
America's team.
Yes, Tim's favorite team.
I love playing them in the playoffs.
I bet you do.
That's always a good time.
So do 49ers fans.
They were pretty good all year. They always seem to collapse in the playoffs, which is kind of a Green Bay thing to do. But I honestly don't know where they needed work. I know there was some issues with Dak. I don't know where they stand on that. I think he's back, but
he's back. I think he's going to be due for contract, but he's under contract this year, so they're trying to decide. I think it'll probably have to be another one of those prove it years. Here's my thing on Dak Prescott. You've pretty much invested in him. He plays most of the time well enough. I think that often Dak gets treated maybe like he is a Patrick Mahomes or a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that. He's not probably quite in that tier of quarterback, in my opinion. Personally, I think if play callers would just call plays like they have a Dak Prescott and not an Aaron Rodgers, for instance, I think that he'd be a lot more successful. Like you could see Cooper Rush run that offense whenever they kind of brought it down to his skill level. I'm not saying that like Dak's skill level is as low as Cooper Rush's, but if they would call games similar, or if they would call games similar to the way that they do for Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott would actually execute that game plan to perfection. So my thing with Dak is he's a guy that you don't want throwing 35, 40 times a game, but if you can keep him throwing around 20 to 27 times a game and keep the ground game going, he's a great quarterback. Take a little pressure off of him. I'll just go ahead and say it. I think he is a franchise quarterback just based on how many contracts he's gotten, how long he started for that franchise, and they've had a lot of success.
A lot of people don't like to give him credit. They like to rag on him quite a bit. But he's been productive enough to get them into the playoffs. The crumble in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, and to me, that's a preparation and a coaching issue. And maybe a little bit of a general manager issue. I do 100% believe if Jerry Jones would keep his hands out of things and just hire a GM.
Or like at the end of the season, there was all that talk about, is Mike McCarthy coming back? And didn't he lead them to like 3 consecutive years of the playoffs? Like pretty good records.
Yeah.
Like I thought so. It's insane that was a conversation.
He was a number 2 seed last year, and they're, what were they, 11-6 maybe? Something like that. And then
I don't know. I know
they were they had to play San Francisco the year before, whenever Dak, he ran and then didn't get out of bounds. And then
I know
the game. I'm trying to remember what seed they were, but they would have been maybe the 3rd or the 4th seed that year.
Yeah, but I know Mike McCarthy has gotten them into the playoffs probably pretty much every year except for maybe his first year. I don't remember.
No, they did then too, because this is his 3rd.
Well, because I'm trying to think.
LaFleur's
been with Green Bay for 5 years maybe, and right. McCarthy took a year off after Green Bay fired him. So,
so it's probably his 4th year.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's right. So yes, I believe he's been in the playoffs each year. Somebody should probably fact check that. But we don't have anybody.
We're not experts.
I think though, to answer your original question, I'm not so sure. They had an aging offensive line, so they have had to go in. They obviously
That's been their strength for a couple of years too. Though is their O
yeah,
line.
yeah, but like Tyron Smith's at New York now, Jets.
Yeah, I did. We've got
Zach
it pulled up here.
Zach Martin's getting old and he's going to be due some money. So they focused on offensive line in their draft, which I think was a good move.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Tyler Guyton, I think, is probably a good tackle. I don't know that he starts this year. He may. And then they also grabbed Cooper Beebe, who some are saying probably eventually Zach Martin's replacement. His only chance of playing this year would be if he would be interested in playing center. I think that's something that they have to work out. I don't know if they'll go that route with it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about any of these guys. I just know what position they play and how that could benefit the pro team.
Yeah, but they did. They spent a lot of their draft picks on offensive and defensive line and a couple linebackers. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Didn't they bring back Zeke?
Too? Yes, Zeke is back with the team. That is true. Because they lost Tony Pollard to the Tennessee Titans, I believe. Right. That's where he went. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not so much, honestly, the Cowboys, and just full disclosure, I'm not a big Cowboys fan. It certainly doesn't upset me whenever they lose. But a lot of their problem, they've been kind of picked on in the past about they're not so good about moving on from their own draft picks. They really, really kind of double down on what they draft, hold on to some people think that they hold on to certain picks too long. Which may be a little bit true, but I think in the last few years since McCarthy's been there, I feel like that overall their rosters have been pretty good. I just don't think that they're always totally prepared for big games, and I think that comes down to coaching.
Yeah. Other than that Super Bowl run with Green Bay, McCarthy's always kind of struggled coaching the playoffs. There's always been some sort of collapse. And I mean, if you're friends with me on Facebook, I joked about it every year. Here comes the Green Bay collapse.
It's just, he's always pretty negative on game day at the text message.
That just seems kind of like Mike McCarthy's MO. You get into the playoffs and whether that's on him, but he always seems to be attached to something catastrophic going wrong in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But now that he's not in Green Bay, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, yeah, I bet you are. I guess I would say for my prediction for the Cowboys this year, see, they're 11-6 last year.
Do we have their schedule?
And 2 seed. I didn't grab schedules.
Tab. What's that schedule tab up there?
Oh, okay.
How they'll do when they get there, I think it depends on the other teams.
So they have got to play the AFC North this year, which is a tough division.
Who's AFC
so
North?
That would be the Steelers, the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns, and then
Dark Side Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
and then they picture him.
Are playing. Let me see here. Panthers, Bucks. I think they're playing the South. Falcons, yes, they're playing the South. So they're going to play the AFC North and the NFC South, which helps them out because the NFC South is kind of not a particularly great division.
Right.
You would think that we'll get to it. Maybe you think Atlanta would be a little bit better, but otherwise, they should be able to beat the Buccaneers. I would think they could beat the Saints, and I would think that they should be able to beat the Panthers, obviously. So I don't know. I don't think they have the toughest schedule in the world this year.
I would say 10 wins.
Yep, they have to play the Rams. Must have been the team with similar record in their division. Who else are they playing? Is there one AFC? Their one AFC game outside of that division is the Raiders. So yeah, I don't think that their schedule is all that comprehensive. They're 11-6 last year, if I remember correctly. I would put them probably at the same. I think that they'll probably be 11.
I'm going to go 10 wins.
You're going to go 10 wins?
Yep.
So 10-7 for Tim. I think they're 11-6 again. Okay, that would move us on to the Eagles, and I will go ahead and get that up on.
It's a hot take. I think Eagles are going to take a step back.
You think they're going to take a step back?
Yep.
Okay. So of course they play the same teams.
You might know, or be more knowledgeable about it than I am. Do they have someone ready to go in place of Jason Kelce? Do they have someone kind of ready to go?
I believe that there is a guard, and I forget his name, so you'll have to bear with me. I believe that there is a guard that they thought would move to center.
Okay.
That's already there.
Which I think that's a huge part of that offense, an established center. But, teams change centers all the time, so who knows how much of an impact it could be, but I could see them taking a step back.
I could possibly see it too as well. They bring in Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator, which I think is a step forward from the combination they were doing between, Matt Patricia and then the other gentleman that they had promoted from internal, and I forget his name, and I apologize. But I think they went and got Kellen Moore, who obviously left Dallas. He was the offensive coordinator the first couple of years with Mike McCarthy in Dallas, and then he went to the Chargers last year, and of course they had a terrible year. And then now I think the Eagles have Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator.
Well, that was a big talking point last year, was that Eagles had lost a lot of their coordinators, right?
Yes, and it clearly set them back.
Yeah.
That was one prediction that I had kind of had in the back of my mind. It's very hard when you lose not only one coordinator, but both, and have to start back over. And they're starting over with 2 new ones again this year.
Do we know, is Jason Kelsey the only one they've lost?
Yeah, I believe that is correct. Lane Johnson is going to play another year. Jordan Mailata, of course, is pretty young. He came from the career pathways.
Well, where I was going with that was just because the tush push is a huge part of their offense.
It'll be very hard without Jason. I agree with you. I think that Jason is a big part of why that is so successful.
It makes those automatic first downs maybe not so automatic anymore.
Yep.
And that could change a lot.
They extended A.J. Brown, so that was a good move. They still have Devontae Smith. Move. They still have Dallas Goedert, so their skill position's still in good shape. They did something at running back. I believe they picked up Saquon Barkley. Is that correct?
They did, because he was on the New Heights podcast.
Yep. So Saquon Barkley is now their running back. Well, it remains to be seen if he can stay healthy. That's always his problem, right? But
yeah.
I don't know. And then another one is Jalen Hurts. Where's he going to play? Is he going to play like he did 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl? Is he going to play like he did last year? Is he going to play like the first year that he started? I think Jalen Hurts overall is a good quarterback. I think a lot of people give him a lot of credit based on the 1 year that was so good when they went to the Super Bowl. I don't know. I think he's a good quarterback, or maybe even a great quarterback, but I don't think he's in that elite category without.
Well, there's such a small sample size.
It's been 4 years, hasn't it?
4 years, but that's young for a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I think he's good. I wasn't saying like
he's been good or great. Yeah,
I'm not saying like he sucked. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's top. He's definitely in the top 10, maybe top.
Oh, he's
maybe top 5,
top 10 for sure.
Yeah, maybe top 5. Definitely top 7, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And they were also 11-6 and ended up with the.
But they had a huge losing streak too, didn't they?
At the end, yeah. At the end, because they were 9-0 or 9-1, and then ended up 11-6.
Yeah. Who else is in that division? Can you move?
Giants, Commanders.
Oh, you're left-handed like me. That's right.
Yep, Giants and Commanders. I also think that I am going to probably put the Eagles at a.
I'm going to say 9 wins because I don't want you to say 9 wins and then start copying me.
I actually wasn't going to say 9. I was going to say 10.
I think they take a step back. Sorry, Eagles.
I think that they probably do take a small step back or a big step back. I don't think they take a step.
You know what I've thought of? It's going to be hilarious at the end of the season to find out how wrong I was on so many of these.
Yes, this is going to be good.
It's going to prove my point that I don't know what I'm talking about.
How can anybody know? If we knew how this thing was going to play out, there'd be no reason to play the games, Tim. That's what I think every time I listen to a football.
Well, I'm not. These are not educated guesses.
You're not getting EPA and DVOA. And
no, I'm just whatever I feel.
What their pass defense is ranked, what their rush defense is ranked, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep, whatever I feel.
If we get bored, we can get into that stuff, but not for these probably. Okay, moving on to the Giants.
Is Daniel Jones going to be their quarterback, or is it Tommy Cutlets?
It's Tommy DeVito.
Yeah.
He sent me a Tommy DeVito. I think it's going to be Daniel Jones for one more year.
What I thought.
I kind of feel bad. I didn't say much about the Eagles draft picks. They did address secondary big time, which they did have a lot of problems with secondary last year. So they got Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, we did skip draft picks.
And Quinyon Mitchell.
That's right. Because
first and second round. So
that
it's kind of crazy Cooper DeJean dropped there.
Well, he was, according to like beat writers and like sports reporters, he was someone Packers were looking at, but he got picked up before they got to him, I think.
They took that tackle in the first round.
They did, but then there was another cornerback available.
We'll get to the Packers in a minute.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You had said something though.
I know. I just wanted to say I think I think those 2 draft picks were really smart. I can't remember what else they drafted without looking, but they definitely need help in the secondary. Now I don't know that means that Cooper DeJean's going to start in the secondary initially. He may be a bit of a rotational piece.
Where did he play? He was Iowa, wasn't he?
Iowa, yeah. I would say Quinyon Mitchell probably is going to play. Be my guess. He was pretty.
I don't know anything about college, but it seems like Iowa always has pretty good defensive players.
And offensive line and tight ends. I don't even know so much about tight ends, but they generally have pretty good offensive linemen.
All right.
Okay, on to the Giants, who appear to be kind of trying to really, I don't know if I want to say like a full-scale rebuild, but they've got to decide on what they're doing with Daniel Jones. They didn't grab a quarterback this year. Not that I think that they maybe necessarily were in position to.
So is Tommy DeVito still on the roster then?
I believe so, as far as I know.
So he would be the backup?
I suppose. No, they signed Tyrod Taylor, did they not? Yeah. I believe they brought in Tyrod Taylor to back him up.
Okay.
Which is a pretty formidable backup if they decide to get away from Daniel Jones.
He's had some success.
He can play, yeah. But the big thing with the Giants, of course, they take Malik Neighbors with their first draft pick, 6th overall. A lot of people are really excited about that, other than who's going to be throwing him the ball. But, potentially if they get in the hunt for a quarterback next year.
But who's their running back now?
They have got Devin Singletary. That's probably going to be their guy.
Okay.
So you might remember him from Buffalo Bills. He just recently was with the Texans, I think, is where he had gone. So he's an okay back.
All right.
They probably got some work to do there. It's probably going to be a running back by committee situation.
They missed the playoffs last year, didn't they?
They did. They had not a very good. Well, Daniel Jones was hurt. I mean, which maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. But if you remember right, he was hurt most of the year last year after signing that extension.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause Tommy DeVito ran all over Green Bay.
Yeah, and a couple other teams.
And his agents in the crowd the whole time.
Yeah, I know.
Which was admittedly pretty funny.
I do have a lot of faith in Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka and the rest of that coaching staff to some degree. Last year was rough. I think they'd have been a little bit better if they could have kept more people healthy. I still think that they're ultimately, like I said, I don't know if I want to call it a full rebuild right now, but they're teeter-tottering on the brink of that. Especially when they've got a few contracts they've got to decide what they're going to do with. So, I think they're an average team. I'm probably.
I said it in the last one for the AFC. 500 was always a good fallback for me, but I can't do that now at 17 games.
I know.
I didn't know. Just say 500.
Yeah, you got to pick one side or that. Well, no, you can pick 500, but that means you're picking a lot of ties.
No, I'm not going to do that. 8 wins.
Okay, so you would have 8.
It's weird not being able to see those schedules. I based that off
8 and 9. See, I'm going to go 7 and 10. I think they're 7 and 10. Okay. Schedule wise, I mean, all these they're going to be playing the same.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So they're playing for them not a super easy schedule. I would say.
Right.
With the definitely with the AFC North, and then they probably would play. I mean, think about the South for the NFC. Like, are you picking them over the Saints? Or are you picking them over the Bucks? And are you picking them over the Falcons? And then they actually play the Panthers over in Germany. That's the Germany game this year.
I'd seen some.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah,
I'd seen some memes about that. Still punishing Germany, are we?
Yeah. Well, they said they couldn't. They said they couldn't get 2 good games 2 years in a row.
So see, we're still holding World War II against Germany.
Yeah, so God knows what's going to go on in that Giants-Panthers game. But I mean, I think wouldn't you say it's a coin flip between the Giants and the Saints, and then probably you expect the Buccaneers to be able to beat the Giants?
I think the Bucs will be solid, man.
Yeah. So
Like, they had a solid end of the year. Baker seems to be doing all right there.
yeah. And then I would think anybody other than maybe Cleveland from the NFC or the AFC North should be able to beat them. I mean, they might surprise some teams, but yeah, okay. So then on to the Commanders.
The Commanders. What a stupid name.
You're not gonna be able to find anything. I mean, it's tough naming teams. My dad and I have talked about this. They should just, if you have to rename a team, it's just got to be an animal, and that's it. There's no other options anymore.
Red Tails was an option, or maybe it wasn't an option. It was being talked about.
They
Red
talked
Tails
about
was
it,
cool.
yeah. Especially for the
Would have been cooler than Commanders.
the specific Air Force battalion from out of there or something, right?
Yeah.
Of course, they've got Jaden Daniels, so that's pretty spicy with the Commanders. They did get Dan Quinn to be their head coach. Dan Quinn's been a pretty good defensive coordinator. Most places he's gone, save, the collapse against the Packers last year. But I don't know. I mean, he had some okay years in Atlanta when he was that head coach. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens out there in Washington. But they've got Jaden Daniels, so that's interesting. See how he's going to work out.
It's so tough to tell with those high draft picks, though. Zach Wilson, wasn't he like number 2?
Oh, it's very tough. Yeah, it's really tough to tell.
Could be great, could not be.
It's really tough to tell with any draft pick, regardless of what round they're in.
But I didn't see a lot of Commanders games last year, so I don't really know where their needs were. Obviously, they drafted a quarterback high.
Well, the big thing with them though last year is they started trading people off. So they got rid of Sweat. They got rid of their 2 good defensive ends, Chase Young and is it Montez Sweat? I believe is his first name.
I think so.
I think the Bears got Montez Sweat, and then Chase Young went to the Niners and finished out the season there, but somebody else has taken him. I can't remember who grabbed him.
He went chasing rings.
Yeah. So defensive line was kind of a need.
They got the other McCaffrey, too.
Luke.
Yep.
Wide receiver out of Rice. I'm trying to think what else. They're kind of all over the board too because they really kind of need everything. But they did grab a defensive tackle, defensive lineman.
I'm seeing quite a bit of offensive picks, tight end, guard.
It's kind
receiver,
of a mix. Basically any and all positions. That's kind of what they needed. Definitely quarterback. Definitely struggled with quarterback.
When you're really struggling, I guess wherever you can improve, you improve.
Yep. I tend to think, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what happens here, but I tend to think they won't have that great of a record.
Is Jaden Daniels starting right away, I assume?
I'm going to guess he's going to have to. I don't really know who
That's always tough, especially in this day and age when everybody's, even the worst NFL team is probably pretty good compared to like who those kids have played in college.
Yeah.
That's such a tough spot to be in. Getting thrown in right away.
Yes, it is tough. It's kind of similar to what we talked about with Drake May at the Patriots. Like, it would probably benefit them to
Zach Wilson too, man.
Yeah, start somebody else for at least the first half of the season, but that's probably not going to happen. So, I don't know. Let's see, 7 for the Giants. You've got 8 for the Giants. For the Commanders, I'm going to put them at I'm going to say 5.
Ooh, really dropping them down there.
Yeah.
You know what? I haven't done it yet. I'm going to go 5 too.
You said you weren't copying me this time.
Buddy, how many teams? There's freaking 16 teams. We're going to have the same predictions on some.
Okay, so just to recap the NFC East, I've got the Cowboys at 11-6. Tim has them at 10-7. I have the Eagles at 10-7. Tim has them at 9-8. Giants, I have at 7-10. Tim has it 8-9, and then we both have the Commanders at 5-12. Who are you picking to be your division winner then?
Cowboys.
You are picking the Cowboys?
Yeah, they'll get into the playoffs again. They may collapse again, but they'll get in.
Okay, and I am picking also the Cowboys to be that division winner, actually, based on the records that I've given everybody. So, So we both agree on the Cowboys. All right. Take a quick break. Let me bring up a couple other things, and we'll go take a look at the NFC North next. Okay, NFC North. We're going to start off with the Lions, Detroit Lions, Tim's favorite team.
I don't hate the Lions.
I know.
I've never had a problem with the Lions.
I assume the Lions for you are much like the Chargers for me. I'm never upset when they win. They generally aren't. They generally aren't good enough to be too worried about, but they sometimes are good enough that they'll give you a good game.
Lions kind of are now. Like we went 1-1 with them last year. They won NFC Championship. I mean, before that though, like I was always a big Matt Stafford fan. Like, I never thought he got the credit he deserved. Yep. Like the year Drew Brees broke the single season passing record, like Stafford broke it too. He was just like 200 yards behind him, so no one cares about second place.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
of course not.
I got no issues.
This is a league about winning.
I will say, I think they've got a window right now, but with Jared Goff, how long is that window staying open? Jared Goff probably is.
They feel pretty good about it though. They just signed him to a nice extension.
Yeah, but is that just like his last contract? Like it's kind of his last window?
Hard to say.
I think he's not super old, but I think he's probably one of the older quarterbacks in the league. Isn't he like in his 30s now?
Isn't he like 31? He'd have been drafted in 16.
Well, it's very rare quarterbacks make it like past mid-30s. Don't talk about Aaron Rodgers. Don't talk about Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady.
It's pretty common to make it to what, 34, 35.
Buddy, I said past mid-30s. You just said mid-30s. Like I said, like this contract that maybe kind of their last window with him.
Isn't he 30? He'd be 30. He's going to be like 30, 31, something like that.
Maybe. I mean, he's good. He's good in that system too. I think before we kind of get too far along to the rest of these teams, I think it's probably between the Lions and Packers to win that division. But
yeah, I would obviously agree with that too.
I'm not sure what all they had. We got it right here.
Well, the big thing was they took the Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, was a cornerback. And they needed some secondary help. They had a lot of trouble in the secondary last year. That was really the only problem with their defense. I felt like pass rush came on. Linebacker play was good. I mean, really, they just were kind of one of those solid all-around teams.
That's literally what I was trying to get ready to say. Was I think they were probably one of the more better, well-rounded teams in the league.
Yep, and they could. The thing about them is they could win different ways. So they could play defense to win. They
Props
could win
to Dan
with
Campbell,
offense.
man. He really kind of turned things around there.
Yeah, others than gambling Dan.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that
Coach Campbell. Who we're talking about.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, he's not the only guy to have made similar mistakes. I don't know why he got shit on so hard. I suppose just because Detroit wanted to get back to the Super Bowl, to the Super Bowl so badly. But I mean, I don't agree with the decision he made, but he is most certainly not the only coach that has definitely tried something of that nature. So. I definitely would have kicked the field goal, me personally. That doesn't necessarily means that they would have won, but it sure would have made it a lot harder. But I don't know. I mean, I get the whole, this is what got him here in the first place. This is why players like him.
He was aggressive all year.
Yeah. But I will tell you this, players like going to the Super Bowl.
I bet they do.
I don't think anybody's bringing that up enough. Like,
I'm sure they are huge fans of going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember any Patriots coming out and bitching because Bill Belichick said, "No, you're not going for a touchdown on fourth down under any circumstance. You're going to kick the field goal and get the goddamn points on the board and walk out here with a win." But teach their own, I suppose. Otherwise, they went up and picked up another running back. Not that they're short in running backs. They've got another defensive back to help there. They grabbed a tackle, but they have a very good offensive line. Possibly, I think it's getting some attention, but I think it's a little underrated, frankly. Penei Sewell and company. This is a very good offensive line.
Yeah, they were solid.
Yeah. Defensive line, kind of a work in progress, but they really played well overall. And like I said, linebacker play was really good. Secondary was rough. They obviously have good receivers.
They have great receivers.
Sam Laporta is, in my opinion, just watching that guy throughout the playoffs last year, I think he's going to pick up the Travis Kelce crown possibly and run with it. We'll see in the next couple years, but he plays very well, I thought.
Oh, they've got skill players all around too. They're solid. And like I said, my only real thing with them is like, what's your window with Jared Goff like? Is it just this contract? I don't know. I still think they're going to be good. They're going to be in the playoffs. I don't know if they'll go as far as they did, but like for the foreseeable future, the next couple of years, they're They're top of the NFC North.
Yep, I would agree. Why don't you go ahead and throw out a record first?
Oh.
Do you remember what they were last year? 12-5? 11? Were they?
It was 11 or 12, I think.
Yeah, I think they were 12.
11
Were they the
wins.
number one seed?
I think they're going to go with
San Francisco.
No, San Francisco was. I think they were.
And Dallas got the second seed.
Yeah.
So they might have also been 11-6. I wonder if. Yeah, I think they were both 11-6, and that screwed up call at the end of that Cowboys game is what gave the Cowboys, when it come back around, is what gave them this number 2 seed because of that, who reported eligible and ineligible and all that, and that 2-point conversion or whatever. So I think they were both 11-6.
I'm going to say 12 wins. I'll give them 12. 12-5.
Either that or the Cowboys were also 12-5. I can't remember, but so you're saying 12-5?
Yeah, I see him having a solid year.
I do too. Trying to think, and we did, just so you know, I did pull this up. And if you're interested, they do have to play. It looked to me like they had to play the NFC West.
I think they'll beat the Bucs.
And they have to play. They have got to play the AFC South.
Texans could be tough.
Yeah, but most of that division's not tough, and then the West is kind of. You don't know what team you're getting outside of the 49ers. You're not real sure what team you're getting out of the NFC West teams, I don't think, each week. I don't think they have the worst schedule in the world outside of having to play, the Packers twice. The Buccaneers probably put up a good fight against them again.
Yeah.
But hard to say with the Vikings. Kind of hard to say with the Bears.
Same with the Jaguars. I think I had them in like 10 wins next year.
Sure,
but
yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Hard to say with Tennessee.
After seeing that, I feel pretty comfortable with 12 wins.
5. See, I kind of think the same thing.
You see, I'm not making a big fuss about you copying me.
I know.
Because I know what's going to happen sometime.
Thank you for that. Moving on to the Vikings.
Man, rebuild.
Others outside of Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, poor guy.
So we might as well talk about
it. J.J.
McCarthy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Which,
right.
Okay, so here's what I will say. A lot of people putting a lot of hate on J.J. McCarthy. I do think that if there's one team that J.J. McCarthy does make sense on, I do feel like it actually is the Minnesota Vikings a little bit.
Again, we're getting into where I don't know anything.
Well, he came from Michigan, obviously, played for
Harbaugh,
Jim
right?
Harbaugh, and just helped them win a national championship. And I think that, he's not like a super flashy quarterback, but I think that that's not.
Sometimes those are the best ones, though.
They are, and that's not what Minnesota, in my opinion, is looking for. I mean, they've got good skill positions. They just need a guy to distribute the ball.
You've got one of the best receivers.
I would say he's gonna have to play, but don't they also have Sam Darnold? I think that
they get Sam Darnold?
I believe that's right, and I think they're actually projecting him to probably start.
You know what? If you don't have, again, I hate to keep saying it. If you don't have to play these guys right away, I wouldn't. I know it's a win now league, but you can destroy the careers of these guys by making them play right away.
Yeah,
and you've seen people set. Pat Mahomes set for what, 1 or 2 years? 1 year, and arguably that benefited a lot.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Like, you're not hurting these guys' careers by letting them sit and watch seasoned veterans.
No, you're not. No, I think Alex Smith helped Pat become a professional for sure.
You've got Justin Jefferson in his prime, and you hate to waste that too.
Yeah, you do, but it's this is his third year, right?
I thought it was like his fourth.
Is it fourth?
I think
they're going to owe him money, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to say, I think J.J. McCarthy, whether he starts right, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know that starting right away is great, but I still think that if he's going to fit somewhere, it's in that offense. And I do think Kevin O'Connell will do a good job of calling stuff that, is to his strengths. And
he's a good coach too.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good coach. It seems that he's going to try to be cautious and not get JJ straight out there, which I like. But you're right. Basically, outside of Justin Jefferson, it's almost a rebuild. I think did they finally let go of Daniil Hunter?
I don't know.
I think he went somewhere else too. Finally, Yeah, I wish I had more for you, Vikings fans. I actually I usually enjoy seeing the Vikings win. I would have compared them to very similar to Kansas City of the NFC.
You know what, man? This is where I think I kind of differ from football fans. Is like I don't really hold grudges against any team, as long as like the Vikings and Lions weren't ever playing the Packers. Like I was just like whatever.
Yeah.
Like when Favre went to the Vikings, like I remember rooting for the Vikings that year because I was pretty
fan. Yeah.
I was pretty young and I was a Favre fan, but like I'd never really actively rooted against them.
Right.
Never rooted for their failure when they were playing the Packers. Obviously, I didn't want them to win, but
right. Yeah. I mean, I think you're looking at. I'll go ahead and pick first on these guys, but I think a 6-win team probably.
I was thinking low too. I think they're probably bottom of the division. Oh, I hate to do it to them. I'll say 5 wins. I think the 3 other teams in the division are probably going to be better.
Well, and I think they really will struggle with the AFC North, no doubt. I think that the AFC North probably got those circled as wins. What were they playing? Oh no, I'm sorry. They're playing the AFC South, but still, most of those teams I think will be able to beat them, and then they would be. What else did I? They're playing the AFC South and the NFC. What West? Is that what we? Yeah. Yes, West. So, yeah, kind of. It's not the easy. I mean, especially when you're rebuilding the way they are, it's not the easiest schedule in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us on to the old Green Bay Packers, who we were just talking about had 6 trillion draft picks.
11. Some from the Aaron Rodgers trade.
Yeah.
I think they had gotten one from Buffalo for giving them Rasul Douglas. Yeah, they had a ton of picks.
Obviously a lot of promise after last year. They do have to figure out the contract situation with Jordan Love.
They'll get him,
they say. Now, I've listened to quite a few people talk about this, and I don't think it's a situation where they're going to necessarily feel that they have to get that done before the start of the season. I think they would be comfortable going into week 5, 6, 7, 8 just to see how he performs. And if he performs really well, I don't think they'll have any trouble parting with the money. And if he performs badly, then it gives them a little bit of leverage, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. One season's such a small sample size, but I think he's been in the offense for 4 years now. I think based off what I saw last year and kind of how he's been in the community, I think he's the guy moving forward. I think they'll get to where they need to be and get him his money. Their first pick was an offensive lineman, which I thought was great because David Bakhtiari is leaving and he's been struggling with that knee injury.
Yeah,
replace an All-Pro with a high draft pick.
I don't know if you can answer this for me or not. The big knock on this Jordan Morgan out of Arizona was he's not particularly long-armed. But apparently Green Bay is somewhat notorious for not necessarily seeing long arms as a great attribute for offensive linemen and have been having success.
I just remember...
I think David Bakhtiari's got long arms. But
David Bakhtiari's huge.
Yeah.
But they've always done really good with building up linemen. Brian Bulaga was great. He was an all-pro until he kind of suffered with knee injuries. Obviously, Bakhtiari is an all-pro. They've usually had 1 or 2 really good all-pros on their line pretty much the entire time I've been watching him. So I think afterwards I had seen a bunch of stuff. They really liked his footwork and his pass protection ability, which Bakhtiari's big thing too. He's blindside. That's what his strengths were. So I think that pick was to kind of replace him. And I think they expect him to play right away. So I do like that pick. New defensive coordinator, new defensive scheme. I think they're going to like a 4-3 maybe. Or maybe I'm saying that backward. Again,
going to a base?
I don't know what I'm talking about. I just regurgitate what I say.
4 down linemen, 3 off-ball linebackers.
So, or maybe
have they been playing a 3-4?
I don't know which one's which.
3-4 means that there's only 3
I know,
down linemen.
But I don't remember because you had Quay Walker, Devondre Campbell, Rashawn Gary. But I think Rashawn Gary probably played down on the line. He's considered an outside linebacker, so it was Preston Smith. But they let Devondre Campbell go, I think. They brought in another linebacker through the draft. So I think maybe they need more linebackers is where they were. I think they'd gotten one high one, which was, again, regurgitating what I've heard post-draft, was he was probably one of the best linebacker candidates in the draft. But a lot of work to the defense. The defense secondary was good. They got Xavier McKinney from New York, which was huge. A lot of people consider him to be the best safety in the league right now. Gave him some money.
Came from the Giants?
I think so.
Yep.
And then Jair Alexander's an all-pro when healthy. I think to be solid, their issue has always been the rush defense. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, new defensive coordinator that's a bit more aggressive can change that. Youngest offense in the league last year.
Yep.
Cheapest wide receiver room in the league by far.
By far. Yeah, a bunch of good wide receivers in there. They obviously, the season was a little bit of an up and down, but they got...
First half of the season was rough, but... Yeah. I saw something the other day from like week 11 to the end of the season. Jordan Love was number 1 or 2 in most quarterback stats. So it kind of caught fire. And I think that's the sample that everyone's looking at. It's like, okay, once they kind of put things together, it was a pretty high powered offense, made a solid playoff run.
That's right. You got to play the Eagles is your
Brazil.
That's one of your 2 teams with similar records.
Brazil.
Out in Brazil on that first Friday. That's pretty exciting. What do you think about that?
First game of the season, you never know how it's going to go. If that game was like in the middle of the season, I'd pick Packers. I try to be as unbiased as possible, but you really have no idea. Throughout my life, Packers have usually kind of been slow starters sometimes. They'd go a couple seasons, they'd go on big runs at the beginning of the year, but usually kind of takes them a while to get going. Like Aaron Rodgers' famous relax statement because they were struggling halfway through the year.
Mm. And your extra AFC games, the Dolphins this year, that's interesting.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
But I think the Dolphins' strength's wide receiver or like passing. And that's kind of Green Bay's strength. If you had to choose a strength in a defense, pass defense.
Yeah. I was trying to think their defense kind of started playing better last year, didn't they? I mean,
it did, but it wasn't great. Like I said, and I don't know what the issue is. The rush defense has been terrible since I was a kid. I remember teams running up, like running backs, getting 100 or 200 yards on them easily, almost every game.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is. They had bad schemes last year where Preston Smith, or last year, maybe the year before too, Preston Smith, defensive end, outside linebacker, whatever you call him, pass rush. That's really all he is. Mm-hmm. But they had him in like a Devontae Adams. Like, there's got to be ways to check out of that. There's all kinds of jokes about Preston Smith Island out there.
Once in a while that happens, Tim.
You got to check out of that. That's terrible.
What was their record last year?
They were like they had 9 wins, I think. They just snuck into the playoffs. 9-8. And it's because they were allowing 7 teams in.
Yeah. Were they the 7? No, they were the 6th seed.
I think they were the last seed, dude.
No, because they played the Cowboys, which were the 2 seed.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry.
So they had to have been the 6th.
And I will argue to my death, they had the 49ers on the fence until the last 5 minutes.
They really did, yeah. It was just kind of one of those you kind of saw that team just be just a hair too young at the end of that game. That's
got an inconsistent kicker, which he's a rookie too. Yep. They brought in some competition for him.
Jordan Love made a bad pass at the end.
He did. He was very vocal about it at the game too. But again, that's his first year starting.
Right. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying you could see that. You could see they're just a smidge too young. But
I think I said it earlier. I think it's between them and the Lions to win the division. I think Lions are going to win the division. I think Green Bay's still super young. I think if they keep improving this year, they'll be a real force the next few years. But I don't think a complete rebuild happens in 1 year.
No, but you do think a step forward this year.
Oh yeah, I think. What did I put the Lions at? 12 wins.
Yep. I've got a number for the
Packers. Can see.
I know where I want to put them. Based on playing the West and the South. But your extra games are kind of more interesting. The Eagles and...
I say 11 wins.
Let's see. The Eagles and the Dolphins are a couple of your extra games. Who's your other extra NFC team this year? Saints. Interesting. Yep, because the Saints almost made the playoffs. Would have had the same record as you guys.
Do they have the Rams?
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah, they're playing that whole division. So
it's the thing. Like McVay,
they're gonna play the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Niners.
It's that whole Shanahan tree, man. McVay can't seem to beat LaFleur. LaFleur can't seem to beat Shanahan. Shanahan can't seem to win a Super Bowl. I say 11.
To be fair to Shanahan, it's hard whenever your two chances you run into God and cleats. I mean,
yeah.
I really think if it weren't for Patrick Mahomes, Kyle Shanahan would probably have at least one, if not two Super Bowls.
I got some shit to say about the 49ers when we get there.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, so then the time that, the big when he was the offensive coordinator of Atlanta, I mean, the poor bastard then also ran into Tom Brady. I mean,
did you ever see that picture going around of like the 2011 Washington Redskins coaches? And it had like freaking Shanahan, LaFleur, McVay, like McDaniels,
Raheem Morris, I think was there.
Like Robert Saleh, I think got added at some point. Like, and that team was terrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like those are all the best coaches now.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good treat.
I see 11 wins. I could see it being more, but I feel comfortable going 11.
Because I am going to say 10-7 this year, and you're going to say 11-6.
Yeah, I'll say 11.
Okay. And last but in this division, last but not least, the Bears. So let me see here. I have to say at least, which I guess they only had 4 picks.
I will say, and I hate to say it, their offense looks good. It's a young offense. Same with Green Bay. They got some good skill players.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know about Caleb Williams. I never watched him.
Here's what I'll say: if you look at their draft, albeit they took a punter. Oh yeah, I knew that. So, did you know that old Caleb Williams texted the GM and said you didn't need to take that punter because we're not going to punt very much this year?
Yes, I had heard about that, and he's been very arrogant.
Very arrogant. I've been texting Dustin about that a bunch. Like,
does he even watch football anymore? No, he's down there.
He tries. It's hard. You got to get the antenna in the exact right spot or whatever.
That sucks, bud.
But I was just like, man, like, I don't. Okay, so I want to back up and preface it by saying this. The Bears potentially had a very good draft. It is brilliant that they were able to get Rome Odunze at wide receiver. And if you believe in Caleb Williams, then obviously they had a really good draft. I don't know on Caleb Williams. I actually would like to see the Bears be decent because they've been so bad for so long.
It's the front office, man.
I know. It's rough.
They have a history of not doing well with quarterbacks.
Yeah. I know. Even their Super Bowl winning quarterback is not, and no offense, Jim McMahon, because I listen to a lot of stuff that he talks about and I really appreciate it now, but he's not one of those quarterbacks that you go, God, you remember Jim McMahon?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But I don't. Okay, so here's my issue with this. Anybody that is going to come from the college game and try to suggest that they can do everything that Patrick Mahomes can do before even being to a fucking workout in the NFL is crazy, in my opinion. And I find a hard time believing anything they say after they say something like that.
Yeah, and I know this doesn't really mean anything because people have rough practices. But it's just funny you're saying this, him being so cocky and he's going to do all this stuff. Like at 7-on-7s the other day, there was a bunch of stuff coming out from the reporters. Like he about threw a bunch of interceptions, only completed 3 passes.
2 out of 7 or something.
Like just had a rough time. Yeah. And again, you're going from college where you're kind of the best of the best to a league where everyone's the best of the best.
Yes, and everybody's very, very fast and very strong.
So could he be good? Yeah, he absolutely could.
Yes.
Could he crash and burn?
Absolutely.
100% he could.
Yeah, I'm really in between on. I don't. Based on the way he's behaving, I don't believe it until I see it. And, but like I said, I don't want Bears fans to think that I don't want him to be. I actually would like to see the Bears get a good draft pick and be.
I think it would be hilarious if he sucks. But I'm sorry.
I know you would.
I'm fine with the Lions and Vikings. I hate the Bears.
It would be no different than if it's how I feel about with the Broncos and Bo Nix.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's the same type of thing. It's like, guys, I don't think that's your dude. I really don't. Yeah. But
like my animosity.
And I hate the Broncos too. And I am to the point where I would like to see them be more competitive because anybody we play in that division is just like.
Well, whatever. It's not a rivalry if you just keep winning.
Yeah.
It's kind of where the Bears are, or the Packers and Bears are now. Yeah. Like 10 wins in a row or something.
Right. Yeah.
I do think they've got Cole Kmet. They got DJ Moore too. Roman Dunn's, like you said, was a good pick.
Yep.
Caleb Williams could be good.
They also picked up Keenan Allen from the Chargers.
That's right. He came in.
He will be, like, if Caleb Williams can relax and throw the ball, he's going to be a good target for him. I mean, he's just...
they got the pieces. Bears front office and coaching staff always seems to let him down.
Yeah. Now, Matt Eberflus did, so I don't know if people believe in Matt Eberflus yet or not, but he did get that defense playing a lot better by the end of the year.
Oh, yeah, that was their strength last year, was their defense.
Mm-hmm. And, it was not the first probably 5-6 weeks of the season. It looked pretty rough, but I still think you're looking at, what do we have here? Do I think the Bears have a better record than the Vikings? That's what I've got to decide here. Potentially, yes. On paper, yes, they should have a much better.
I got a number, but I'm going to see what you say.
I'm going to say 8 wins.
I was going to say 7. I think they got the skill pieces, but again, young offense. I think they're putting the pieces together in a tough top of the division. Like, could probably be pretty even with the Vikings, but Lions and Packers, I think they're just probably a step or two ahead of them right now.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so real quick, let's pick our division winners. I most clearly have made it the Lions. And you have also, well, I mean, you're within a game of each other, but you're also saying the Lions too, based on that.
Yeah, I think it's too early for the Packers. Next year, if they improve this year, I think next year they can take a real big step and take over the division again. But Lions, I think it's their window right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, quick break, and we'll run through the NFC South. Okay, back at it. Okay, get in your Packers points real quick, even though you had plenty of time.
I know I had plenty of time.
Jump into the Saints.
But I'd be a bad Packers fan if I didn't mention, like, we let Aaron Jones go and picked up Josh Jacobs.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge move. I totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't super happy about it because Aaron Jones had like 4 or 5 100-plus yard games to end the year. But he is injury prone a little bit. He's kind of on the older side for a running back, which he's not old. He's like 29.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is kind of one of those really good year, kind of average year, good year, average year.
He's due for a good year.
You're due for a good year after last year.
They picked up a really good running back from what I hear. He was a later round draft pick, but
he's a very good running back whenever
that
he's on.
Marshawn Lloyd, I think, was their pick. Dude shredded. I'll give him that, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Those are my points. I got rid of Aaron Jones, who I love. He's with the freaking Vikings. Vikings in Chicago always pick up Packers cuts.
I wouldn't blame him. We've got Dalvin Cook now.
All right, fair. I'd be a bad Packers fan.
Make the roster.
I'd be a bad Packers fan if I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Welcome, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, welcome, Josh Jacobs. I mean, a lot of people think that you basically net nothing. The only thing is Josh Jacobs is, 3 years younger than Aaron Jones or something like that.
Bigger. Aaron Jones is pretty small. He's really fast. Yeah. That's kind of his thing. Josh Jacobs, I think the idea was he's probably more built like a traditional running back.
Yeah, he's good. Whenever he's on and they give him the ball a lot, he's
due for a good year.
Back. Okay, NFC South starting with the Saints, the team that continues to kick the money down the road.
Are they still paying for Drew Brees?
They're still paying for Drew Brees.
I knew they had a big hit last year for him too, I thought.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That's part of the Steelers' problem too. They're still paying bad, I think.
I could be totally wrong on this, but I think even the Packers are done with cap hits from Aaron Rodgers this next year.
They probably are. I mean, they were able to trade.
They just got rid of him.
Yeah.
How are the Saints still dealing with Drew Brees?
Because they basically kicked all his money down.
Also to Green Bay, but maybe not that bad.
Well, no, not that bad. Plus, you had a trade partner. I mean, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, and Drew
Brees
just
retired.
That's right. That's right.
Same with
someone else take some of that.
Someone else. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
how do you feel about Derek Carr? He was in your division for a long time.
Yeah, Derek Carr. He is. So there is a group I listen to on the NFL that talks about the Andy Dalton line, and that basically means that is the Andy Dalton line would have been the line of where you either need or don't need a quarterback, essentially. He's kind of he's like the median average line, which is pretty good. I would almost say that Derek Carr might be that, or he might be just below that, truthfully, at the end of the day. At times, he probably was right there, kind of an Andy Dalton style quarterback. Yeah. But I don't know if he's
the old red rifle. I always forget about him now. He's still in the league. Like he's a backup.
Yes, correct. Yeah. I can't remember where he's at.
He's with Chicago, or he was last year, because at one point they had him and Foles, and there was a big issue with Fields not listening to them or something.
Yeah, but they ended up playing Tyson Bagent whenever Fields couldn't play.
Well, they might not have them both anymore. I think that was last year, maybe the year before.
Foles, I think it was the year before.
I think again, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's just what I hear. I think Dalton was with the Bears last year, though.
That could be. I know he was with the Panthers at one point.
He's been everywhere. It's like Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Saints. Who else they got? I feel like I don't know anything about the Saints anymore.
The Saints?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. They still have Alvin Kamara, but to be honest with you, ever since he's been in trouble, he really hasn't been all that productive. He's been okay.
Why NFL players got to keep getting in trouble?
Well, why wouldn't you? Got a lot of money, nothing to do for a few months of the year.
I get it.
The Saints
party at your house.
Yeah, the Saints almost made the playoffs, but didn't quite at the end of the year last year. I tend to think they're not going to be any better than they were last year. I tend to think they're going to be a little bit worse. So see what they drafted. Oh, they got Kool-Aid McKinstry.
That's right. Okay, so they
took old Kool-Aid in the secondary.
That's right.
They took an offensive tackle, which I'm sure they probably need. They took Spencer Rattler. Maybe they think that he's going to be their future quarterback. I don't know about that.
Maybe.
A wide receiver from Pittsburgh, who I don't know, linebacker from Texas, a defensive tackle, and an offensive tackle. I would guess, here's what I will say about the Saints. I'd venture to guess this is Dennis Allen's last year, most likely, and they probably are fully rebuilding after this year. I tend to think they'll be a very bad team this year. A lot of people are saying the Panthers are going to be awful, which is probably true. I don't know that the Saints are going to be much better. We'll see, but I really think, what were they, 8-9 or 9-8 last year, missed the playoffs. I think they're going to go down to like maybe a 6 or 7 win team this year. And they are, if you are interested, they have got to play the AFC West. So Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers. And then they have got to play the NFC East, which is Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants. And then their extra games, like their other like opponent games. Looks like they got to play the Titans. That's their extra AFC game that they would add a similar record to. And then it was another interesting one. I'm trying to think who they had to play. I had it figured out here. So, yeah, I mean, I really think that you're looking, I don't feel bad, but I really think you're looking at maybe like a 6-7 win team for the Saints this year.
And just because I don't want to pick what you pick, I'm going to say 5.
Well, I didn't even pick. I just said 6 or 7.
You said 6. It's one of those two. I'm going to go 5.
I'm going to say 7.
If you say 5, you're copying me.
So you're saying 5 and 12.
Yeah. And to be fair, that's just a guess based off of what you say. I really feel like I don't know anything about the Saints. I haven't watched them play, really.
Which moves us on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they just gave dear old Baker Mayfield a nice little contract.
Gave him some money. Hey, man, Baker looked good in that system last year. I thought he did.
I truly believe, unless the Falcons are just world beaters with Kirk Cousins this year, which they have the potential to be, I don't know yet.
Depends on how he bounces back. We'll get there.
Right. I tend to think the Bucs are probably just going to be down the same path they were last year. They could be one game better, one game worse, but I think they probably make the playoffs. Again, unless the Falcons are just world beaters.
They were the last seed in the playoffs, right?
Oh no, they won their division.
So they were 5.
They were 4.
So then who was 5? Packers were 6. Who was 5 and 7?
5 was whoever Tampa Bay beat the first week. Rams. Is that
okay. Right? I think so. Rams were in there.
Yep. And then
that's for another time.
The bottom seed last year was, let's see, whoever had to play. No, the Packers were the bottom seed, weren't they?
That's what I thought, man.
2 versus 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been 2 versus 7. So then it would have been 4 and 5, which would have been Tampa Bay, and I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it was Detroit. Detroit had to play the Rams. They were 2. So it was Tampa Bay and Philly. Philly was 5.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Glad we solved that.
Yes, you are welcome. So, I kind of got screwed up earlier. I think I kept saying Cowboys were 2 and 6, but they were 2 and 7.
Who'd they add? They added a center. Well, that was the round 1 pick too. That's
Yep, that center out of Duke. The Bucks don't. That's the thing about the Bucks. They're not. I don't know that they're particularly deep at every position, but they have pretty good players at most positions. Well, their defense isn't bad. It's actually decent. I
have no expertise, but Packers have historically drafted like linemen really high, and that seems to always work out. Like I said, at least through Aaron Rodgers' career, they've always had a pretty solid line, and I feel like if you have a solid line, you're going to be doing okay even with the mid-level quarterback. Mm-hmm. High draft, number 26 overall center. I think that's probably a pretty good pick. Mm-hmm. Center of your line, I think that's really good.
Yeah,
give Baker a good line, I think you're going to have some success.
Yes, I agree. And that's probably the one area that they did need to improve last year. I was trying to see if they got any others. Not really. It's kind of surprising. But they've kind of had what I would call a suspect offensive line since that last year at Tom Brady. And even at times last year.
Well, that's weird. They only took one then, because in the rest,
they must have done
the next few picks.
Free agent signings. We're not doing very good at looking that up. We're not. This, but
because we don't have Sweet Keith with us to pull all that up.
Oh no. Well, he didn't do a very good job whenever he wanted to do that. But I do think that I think Tampa Bay is kind of right around the same spot they were last year. Were they like a 10-win team last year or a 9-8-win team to win that division, something like that? I'm gonna say they still have Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin. They're a little lacking at the tight end position.
Well, I thought I saw one on here. Yeah, round 7. Okay, that's pretty late.
That's kind
they
of
take one before that.
There, but they've had like O.J. Howard and a couple other people that haven't really worked out. But
I'm gonna say
I'm gonna put them at. And, of course, like we talked about, they got to play the AFC West. They've got to play the NFC East again. So I think they're 9-8 again. I think that's where I'm going to put them. It's okay if you want to copy me.
That's what I was going to say. I had it in my head. But I really didn't want to put them at 10 wins.
I'm so close to putting them at 10 wins. I really am. But then that makes me think really hard about where I want to put the Falcons. I want to put the Falcons around 10, 11 wins. But we'll get there in a minute. For now, it's the Carolina Panthers.
Oof. Poor Bryce Young.
Poor Bryce Young is correct. Poor anybody that plays for that team, because I'll just be real honest with you. David Tepper is a terrible owner, and that's a lot of their problem right now. He actually, you may not know this, but his plan to manage his NFL team is I don't know how much you follow this, but typically whenever you hire a head coach, which was like Frank Reich last year, and then who did they get this year? Oh God, it wasn't Callahan. I think it was at the Schottenheimer. But anyway, we don't need to figure that out. But his plan these coaching staffs, what they tend to like to do whenever you hire a coaching staff of any type, doesn't matter whether it's brand new or not, they tend to like to bring in brain trust that they've coached with before that they trust a little bit. So it's pretty common that they're going to find people from other staffs that they've been on and worked with before to try to. He wouldn't let them do that. He wanted to hire multiple different coaches from different coaching trees to get the best. What he thought the best brain power from many different.
Who was this again? Like what position did he hold? He was the owner?
David Tepper, he's the owner. Yeah. He's only owned him for a few years.
Stay out of your coach's way.
Correct. And I know what he's trying to do. Like he's trying to manage it like how you would maybe manage like an engineering firm or some other type of other business where you need a bunch of really smart people that are smart in different areas to kind of make the whole thing work. But this is the NFL, not an investment firm or a utility or a factory or something like that. So
I know they were terrible last year, but again, they're a team I didn't really watch. Do you think was their biggest weakness?
Everything, roster,
really?
Coaching. I mean, and I feel bad because I do believe Frank Reich.
And they didn't have really high draft. They didn't pick until 32. That sucks. Took a receiver right away
because they had to trade around. They traded up to get Bryce Young.
Oh,
so they actually didn't have a first round pick this year, but they traded back in with Buffalo to get that 32 pick because Buffalo traded 32 traded 28 to us for 32, and then traded back into the second.
Their
round
draft picks are all over the place.
Yes, they are. They had hampered themselves over a few different things the last couple of years.
You know what I'm not seeing though? Offensive line. Was that an issue for them?
Probably not their biggest issue, but an issue, I would say. Skill positions were not particularly
And that's not to say
good.
they didn't bring in a free agent or something.
Yeah, but Xavier Leggett was a big deal. And they have, God, don't they have DJ Moore? Wasn't that part of the Bears trade?
He went to the Bears. He's in the Bears.
He's in the Bears. Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's still there. He was definitely there last year.
He's still there. I'm trying to think. They have. They've got the old Vikings wide receiver. Why am I taking
the white guy?
Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
They have Adam Thielen. They don't have much. They just don't have much around him. And they didn't have great coaching, so we'll see what happens this year. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Panthers. They're not going to be very good. I don't think they got a single primetime game this year. I feel really bad for Bryce Young. He could have maybe worked out somewhere. Yeah, I know that's not primetime. That's 8:30 in the morning.
Prime time if you're a parent.
Yeah.
4 wins is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. They won't be very good again. You say 4.
Yep.
God, what's the math on that? 4 and 13.
Yeah.
And what'd they win last year? 1, 2. That's a pretty big step forward. That's double.
Very many.
Yeah, that's like double.
They had a rough year.
4 and 13. You gotta have somebody pretty low. 4 and 13. I'll say 3 and 14. Just see what happens.
I wasn't that mean to you, Panthers fans.
I don't even
Falcons.
I don't even care who they have to play against in their other games. I don't think it matters. So the Falcons now, who have 2 quarterbacks,
Kirk O'Chains.
Kirk
O'Chains.
Screwing me up. Kirk Cousins and of course Michael Penix Jr.
You know what, man? Kirk Cousins. How old is he? He's not. For a quarterback.
36, 37.
Is he 36, 37? Okay.
He's been around a long time.
That kind of contradicts my mid-30s.
Remember when he was on the he was the quarterback on the team with all the coaches for the Commanders that you were talking about.
I knew he was with the Redskins because that's where the "you like that" came from.
He
that
replaced
was
RG3 after RG3 got hurt.
Okay,
He was his backup, which they were could never decide because they drafted him at the same time, if I remember right.
But again, I think I made my comment about you don't see a lot of quarterbacks playing past mid-30s, but I think Kirk Cousins is probably towards the top of the league in quarterbacks. I really do. You can say how he performs in playoffs, but he's been pretty productive over his career.
I think he might be the best quarterback in the NFC.
Jordan Love?
Shut up. He's played 1 year and he was 9 and 8.
That's probably fair to say. I do like Kirk Cousins. I hope he bounces back strong from that injury. If he does, the Falcons could be good, and that could only work out for Michael Penix to watch him.
I agree. A lot of people.
It was a weird pick.
It's a weird pick, and the other problem is if Kirk makes it through his entire, and I'll give you my thoughts on this in a minute. But here's what people are complaining about with Michael Penix: if Kirk makes it through his entire 4-year contract, Michael Penix will be 30 before he ever starts. He's an older quarterback.
Oh, he's that old? Did he? Mm-hmm. Was it like
he's played
COVID
at more
years?
than one? No, he's played at more than one school.
Oh,
he wasn't at Washington initially.
The old Stetson Bennett approach.
Right. Yes.
He probably played for one team though.
Stetson, I believe, did only play for one.
But he played forever.
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't realize he was that old.
Michael Penix, is going to turn 26.
I get why people are mad about that now. But before, I knew people were upset by it because we just got Kirk Cousins. Yeah. But
I don't know that. My whole thing with that when it comes to quarterbacks, and I know you're playing a little bit of a risky game, but I still think making him sit for a while, even if he does get close to 30, quarterback, I don't think him.
I did see their GM kind of in like a post-draft presser because obviously he was asked about this pick, and he had referenced like the Packers, and I think he had even referenced like Pat Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith. And saying that you've seen it only benefits these young guys.
It does, yeah. The only problem is he's not particularly young. But
I didn't realize that. So I get why makes you kind of scratch your head at that. But
here's the other thing about the Falcons, and they're open about this. They, no matter what situation they're in, they draft best available.
They took 2 defensive tackles round 2 and 4.
Yep, which they need defensive line help. That has been a very, like you talked about the Packers, they have a very bad time.
They took another one in round 6. Dang. Yes. They really put a huge emphasis on that.
Yep, if you go back and look the last several years, even the Super Bowl year, they have been one of the worst pass rushing defenses in many, many years in a row.
Well, that first one's only at number 35. That's got to be towards the top of round 2.
Yes.
Very top of round 2.
Yep.
That's a good pick.
Yep. Or I can't remember how to say this guy's name, but yes, he was a very popular prospect coming out. Rook Aurora.
Most of those picks are defense.
I feel bad for butchering that. Yes, they did focus a lot on defense, which they have very good skill position, and they have a very good offensive line. So that's why it's really set up for Kirk Cousins to kind of step in there. I mean, they got Corey Linsley, to say the least, on offensive line.
Do?
Yeah, he's very good offensive.
Yeah, he's an all-pro.
Yeah.
He was at Green Bay.
Yeah. They? I thought they drafted this guy.
Thought they drafted who?
Linsley.
Falcons or Green Bay?
Falcons.
No, he was with Green Bay. I think Green Bay drafted him. Okay. But they couldn't afford to keep him because he's
maybe there's another one that they drafted that's really good.
And they were already paying D-Bach money.
I feel bad about that.
I think he was gone about that.
I don't want to put anything that bad out there.
Corey Linsley's good.
I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure.
I didn't realize that's where he was.
I got to look that up.
Well, if he's not, you're going to make us look stupid now.
I know.
Even more stupid than we already do.
Alex Mack, center, who's very good. Justin Blaylock, I don't know much about. They got Joe Hawley, Chris Chester.
So it's not Corey Linsley.
I don't think so.
Where did he go? Yeah. They still got Julio Jones?
Yeah.
Wasn't he somewhere? Like, I feel like I just heard his name in the media. Like,
somebody worked him out, didn't they?
Something like that. That dude freaking made me almost cry a couple of times against the Packers. It's like it was playing like he was in a video game. It was insane. That guy was ridiculous.
Chris Lindstrom, my apology. That's what I got messed up. Chris Lindstrom, the right guard.
Well, you know what? For the record, Corey Linsley's great. He's an all-pro center. Wherever he's at, I'm sure he's having a great career.
Let's see. Jake Matthews, Matthew Bergeron, Drew Dahlman. Chris Lindstrom is the one that is a very, very good guard. Caleb McCrary. But they were a pretty good offensive line unit last year. And like I said, they really are set up offensively for Kirk Cousins just to come in and do everything.
This their schedule?
A quarterback
That's the Saints schedule.
It's Saints, but it's going to be the same, right? They're going to play. They're going to play the AFC West and the NFC East. So I don't know who their spare games are with similar records, but they didn't have that great a record last year, so it shouldn't be all that tough of a schedule for them. And they're in the NFC South. Their schedule should be fairly favorable.
Where do I got everyone else there? 11 wins.
So you got them at 11-6, clear-cut winner almost of that.
Yep.
And I think, to be honest with you, see how he comes back. Man, I really like 11-6. That's kind of a number, but I think I'll just say 12-5.
Is that your version of my 500?
Yeah. I say 12-5. I'll say 12-5. Okay, one more group. Do you just want to run through this one? No, there's probably a couple we want to look at, right?
Yeah.
I'll take the quick break. What do you got?
Last time I really remember them playing the Packers was that 2 Hail Mary game they lost in overtime in the playoffs.
All right, back, and we're going to chat about the NFC West to close this puppy out. Starting with the Cardinals, who have... Okay, well, first of all, I'll just tell you schedule since I got that pulled up there. They are going to be playing the AFC East, which is Bills, Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, and then they have got to play the NFC. I just looked at this. North. I think they've got to play your division. Yes, Vikings, Bears, Packers.
Depending on which version of the Bills show up, that could be a real tough way to start your
The Bills traditionally don't look very good the first week of the season.
They did lose the Jets game 1 last year.
And they also lost to the Steelers week 1 the year before that. They are usually kind of slow starters and usually have to play, no offense, Bills fans, if you're listening to the NFC podcast, but you generally have to play some pretty serious do-or-die football the last few weeks of the season. It's pretty common. But anyway, the Cardinals kind of a full rebuild. They did have a lot of draft picks.
Marvin Harrison Jr., that's
which
right.
is great. So if you can keep Kyler Murray healthy and you believe in Kyler Murray, that's a really great pairing for him. They did grab Darius Robinson, the edge out of Missouri.
They had 2 round 1 picks.
Yeah, I did not. I watched a little bit of the tape that got released on Darius Robinson. Looks like a very big, strong, powerful defensive end. Thing that worried me on his film is a lot of the things that he does. It sure looks like in the NFL that running backs and other personnel are going to be way by him by the time he makes his moves, but we'll see what happens there. A lot of people are really excited about that pick.
They did have a ton of picks. Wow.
Yes, they did. They got a cornerback. They've got a running back.
O-line, tight end. Yeah, they're...
Well, of course, and we know they started a rebuild whenever they got rid of Cliff Kingsbury and hired John Gannon, and hopefully they're going to give him at least another year or two, because I actually think that even though they weren't particularly great last year, they did stay competitive. They showed a lot of promise. They've had a lot of draft picks. They're getting Kyler Murray back.
Yeah.
Yep. I think Marvin Harrison's probably a pretty much guaranteed good wide receiver there. So I'm pretty hopeful. I think I don't remember what their win-loss was last year. I know it wasn't very good, maybe 4 games or something like that. I think they'll take a couple steps forward.
I'm going to go to my old standby, the 500 rule, 9-8.
You think they're going clear to 9-8?
Yeah, sure.
Nice, boy. He sees like potentially making the playoffs.
Potentially.
I'm going to say 6. I'm going to go 6.
Now that 7 teams can get in, man, there's 1 or 2 teams that are going to just barely sneak in.
I hear you.
But usually it's maybe like 1 that just sneaks in.
So I do feel like I think they're at least going to be a good watch. I don't think that if they're in, I don't know if they have any prime times or not.
I always enjoyed the Cardinals too. Not when they were beating the pack, but like I liked Larry Fitzgerald a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really liked
JJ Watt, of course.
JJ Watt, but I really liked watching him whenever, of course, Larry would have been there. But those years that Kurt Warner finished his career, they were a lot of fun to watch. They really were. So
Kurt Warner.
Yeah, the Bidwells are notorious for not being particularly great owners. Some of the problems.
I always forget he went to Arizona. Of course, I just remember him, the greatest show on turf.
Yep. Which was also a lot of fun to watch. Okay, moving on to Seattle. Looks like they're probably starting Geno Smith again this year, so I don't know what you think about that.
That guy.
Playing well, and honestly, I think a lot of their problems last year, I mean, he got blamed for some of it, which some of it may be rightfully so, but I think they had a lot of other problems besides Geno Smith last year offensively, personally.
Who do they still have, like Tyler Lockett?
Yeah.
And what do we got?
Okay, regular season, as we talked about, they've got the AFC East, Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, and they've got your division, North, NFC North. And, of course, they're in a pretty potentially tough division if you believe the Rams are going to be playing pretty good again this year. So, and you believe the Cardinals are going to be playing pretty good again this year. So
I think so.
So, yeah, tough division of their own right. And really the NFC East, I think, will also be, or not the NFC, the AFC East that they have to play. And the AFC will also be probably pretty tough.
So, it'll come out, but I've had kind of an idea for this division of where I thought things were going to land anyways. You know what? I'm going to say 8 wins for these guys.
8 wins for the Seahawks.
Should say 0. We can hate the Seahawks.
It's about where they were. I've got the Cardinals, Seahawks. I tend to agree with that. I'm going to say they're 8-9 as well, Tim. I like that. Okay, the Rams, which we'll go ahead and pull this one up.
Matty Stafford.
Yep. Hopefully back in full action.
Is Aaron Donald, did he call it quits finally?
Oh, yes, he's retired.
All right, that's a big loss. Did they draft a replacement?
Oh, I don't know. You can't just draft a replacement.
You know what I mean. They draft
Donald.
Someone to fill that spot. Or they get a good free agent. You're not going to just draft a Hall of Famer. I get that.
They took an edge from Florida State. They did take a defensive tackle also from Florida State. Woo! Really buying in that Florida State line they are.
Dude, they took a lot of defensive picks. Dang.
Well, yeah, their defense has been pretty rough for the last couple of years outside of Aaron Donald.
But yeah, like
I mean, they lost almost everybody from that Super Bowl
Edge and D line. They've got like 4 picks right away. I'm seeing.
Yep. They took a kicker, one of the wide receivers from Texas. They took a center and a guard. So A lot of people believe in the Rams. I think they're going to be better than they were last year.
They got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua.
Yes, those two back together. Stafford, hopefully healthy this year. Of course, he's 39.
He's older too.
Yeah,
but I mean, again, I would put him kind of in that category of quarterbacks that can play past that kind of mid-30s level.
Yep.
But he's taken a lot of damage too. He's taken a lot of damage over his career too.
They've had some offensive line trouble since that Super Bowl too. Even that Super Bowl was shaky, but when Andrew Whitworth left, they really
that was a huge loss.
Yeah. So, I do think that they're going to be a little better than they were last year, and they made it in the playoffs were they a 10-win team last year, a 9-win team?
Well, they were. We just talked about they were number 5, right?
Yeah, I think that's right, at 10-7. I don't know if they. I mean, do they improve a ton? I don't know. I mean, I believe in Matt. Here's the other thing. I really believe in Sean McVay, and I believe in Les Snead. I think that Les Snead's a really underrated GM because they had such a rough time at St. Louis transitioning over to L.A. But once they got to L.A., I mean, they kind of got everything straightened out, and it started with getting Sean McVay in the door, who I still believe in very much. I'll say 11-6.
10-7.
God damn it! I really like 10-7, which is what they were last year. And then last but not least, the 49ers. We can talk draft picks on them. I don't know how much that really matters. The question you have is, do we really think that they're going to keep both Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel long-term?
I think it was today I saw something that Brandon Ayuk wants like $30 million a year.
Yeah, he probably does. And I will be honest with you, I think Brandon Ayuk's the better wide receiver of the two.
I would say
I think Deebo is very versatile, but I don't think he's pure wide receiver.
Here's my stance.
Brandon Ayuk is. So let me ask you this: like Brandon Ayuk plays a lot. Deebo Samuel is hurt a lot, and their records are always still good. If you took Brandon Ayuk out and had Deebo Samuel in all the time, do you think they'd be as good offensively? No. I personally don't think so.
I don't either. I do not like the 49ers. And it's probably pretty obvious why. They historically, at least kind of in my adult life watching them, have knocked the Packers out of the playoffs. And it's always something stupid, a missed field goal, or they get a last-minute field goal to win. Jimmy Garoppolo saying fuck the Packers after the game when he did absolutely nothing, and their punt return got
He won, Tim.
No,
you can't say he did absolutely nothing. He won.
He did absolutely nothing. The Packers totally collapsed. They had like 6 offensive points, and they were both field goals. But like they just always find a way to beat Green Bay. Green Bay always finds a way to lose. They've got so many All-Pros, man. How long does this window stay open for them? They've got how many All-Pros they got? Like at least 5 or 6.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's insane. You got like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner,
the other
Deebo
linebacker
Samuel.
too, the one that hurt himself.
Oh,
going on the sideline. What the hell's his name?
But they got like George Kittle,
Greenlaw, Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah. I mean, they had so many All-Pros.
George Kittle. Well, and then they got fucking Trent Williams, the best left tackle.
Yeah,
probably ever.
I mean,
He's
people can say what they want about Brock Purdy too, but he's doing fine in that system. Like you've got a solid quarterback to go with all these All-Pros.
Yeah,
like it's goddamn. This window's got to close for them at some point. They can't keep having all these people.
They can. It's really helping them that Brock Purdy's a 7th round draft pick and he's still on his rookie deal. That helps
and
a
they
lot.
can't do anything with him until after next year.
I don't know if Jarvarius Ward has been an All-Pro, but he's an extremely good corner that we gave up because we couldn't afford him, and they're paying him quite a bit of money, and he's playing well too. So
yeah,
and they got Hufanga, who is still probably on a rookie deal. Wasn't this last year like his third year? Is he going into his 4th?
I think so. They didn't really lose anyone either, did they?
3rd going into 4th. I don't know.
I mean, as of yet, I know we're only in freaking May.
You're not talking about anybody too specific though. Yeah,
like the core of their team is still.
They obviously the one that they picked up, the Chase Young, the defensive end they picked up from the Commanders. They did not keep him. They basically just finished out the contract that he was on there with Washington, traded him and let him go, so he's gone.
They still got all the goddamn All-Pros.
Yeah, they have. Yeah,
I'll just get to the point. I think they're a 12-win team. I think they win the division.
12 or 13. Yeah. Pretty rare. I might put them in 13-3.
Can't wait.
I mean, even if they can't sort all their stuff out.
Can't wait to fucking lose to them by 3 points in the playoffs.
So there you have it around the NFC. Now, one thing we did not do real quick before we get out of here is we forgot to point out who our division leaders were for the South. We both have the Falcons, if that helps you at all, and not even really all that close. We both have the Bucks at 9-8, but we have the Falcons at 12-5 and 11-6. Respectively. And then we, of course, both have the 49ers obviously in charge of this division. So I just wanted to clear that up. Next time that we chat, we are going to take around our AFC and NFC, and we're going to build out our way too early playoff bracket predictions.
I cannot wait. I'm going to be really biased. I'm sure you probably will too.
So we'll run through that, and then we may, if we have enough time, we're definitely going to do this at some point. But we're going to run through and put all our starting quarterbacks in tiers on our next one. So
I will try to be as unbiased as possible.
You don't worry. What we'll do is we have to agree what tier they go in collectively.
So you can keep me in check.
Yes,
I'll keep you in check.
In check, except you won't have to keep me in check because there's nothing to argue about, Pat. But
statistically, he got outplayed last year.
I don't give a shit. He won a Super Bowl.
He did. But statistically, he got outplayed.
So we appreciate you sticking to us. I got to be honest with you. Maybe we should just do sports here all the time and not up in the other room.
This is a pretty good setup.
Good. Not bad.
I like this.
It's really not
I
bad.
like this.
So thanks a bunch for sticking with us, guys. We'll talk to you next time.